As you guys know, Joe Biden will join the picket lines with auto workers today in what is an extraordinary move. As far as labor historians can tell, this is the first time in the history of the nation that a sitting president has actually joined an active strike, a sign of how rapidly the politics around labor, corporate power, and unions have shifted in recent years. But it's also a little bit ironic because Biden's administration has been marked by tension with this very union over the nature of the electric vehicle transition. UAW President Shawn Fain, unique among union leaders, has pointedly refused to endorse Biden's re-election bid over his failure to include wage and union requirements in the Inflation Reduction Act. Our partner, Jordan Sheridan at Status Quo, he recently asked Fain about exactly this issue. Take a listen.
Do you need more from the Democratic Party aside from, talk and showing up when the cameras are here?
Yeah, I mean, the proof's got to be in the pudding. The proof's going to be in the work. I mean, as we said, our endorsements are going to be earned. It would drive me nuts as a worker to just watch sometimes we just endorse people and there's really no body of work behind that. And we can't be taken for granted no more. Workers shouldn't allow themselves to be taken for granted. And there's a lot of things going on in this economy, and there's a lot of things with the EV transition. I mean, we're not against a green economy. I mean, we got to have clean air. We got to have clean water. We got to have a world for people to live in, future generations to live on. And but it's got to be a just transition where labor has a seat at the table. There's a lot of money, with the IRA that was put in play with the government, a lot of our taxpayer dollars to help fund this transition. But again, like always, the corporations come with their hands out. There's always a way, the government finds a way to put money in their pockets, but labor gets left behind. Labor cannot continue to be left behind. And that's been our message to the White House, to Congress, and to anyone that'll listen. And so, that's got to change.
So at its core, the UAW strike is about two basic issues: securing the present through increased wages, ending tiers, increasing benefits, improving quality of life, and securing the future through protections against plant closures and locked-in cost of living adjustments. And it is this future which is most threatened by an EV transition that would follow the standard neoliberal era playbook in which new technology provides a fresh excuse to fire workers, offshore jobs, and undercut wages. Trump was very savvy to pick up on this tension and seek to cynically exploit it, even as he offers workers worse than nothing, because the EV transition really is the elephant in the room of this strike and of the future of the auto industry. And while it's not up for direct negotiations, the outcome of this strike could well determine whether this transition will in fact spark a blue-collar rebirth or be yet another race to the bottom. So the first thing to understand here is that the EV transition is happening, regardless of who's in the White House. It's really just a matter of timing. Here in the US, EVs are still a relatively small percentage of the overall market, but they've been growing at an astonishing clip. In a 2-year time span, between 2021 and 2023, EV sales shot up by 147%. Here, Tesla is still by far the market leader, but other automakers like Ford and Chevy, they've been chipping into their dominance, dropping them under 60% of the total market for the first time ever. But in some ways, to look just at the US is really to miss the big picture. Global sales of EVs have absolutely exploded. Last year saw sales of 10 million electric cars worldwide and are expected to spike another 35% just this year. That means electric vehicles will jump from only 4% of the new car market in 2020 to 18% this year. Those sales are led by China, which has aggressively incentivized development and provided consumer subsidies to try to make the cars more affordable. The big three, they see the writing on the wall. And even before the Biden-era incentives had begun investing billions into this new market. GM wants to completely switch over to EVs by 2035. Ford wants half of all their sales to be electric by 2030. Now, Biden is working aggressively to speed this transition, but his policies have been woefully incomplete. Effectively, you got to deliver here for three groups: consumers, workers, and automakers. The Inflation Reduction Act only fully delivers for one of these groups, and it will not surprise you which one. In classic DC fashion, the giant corporations got taken care of most fully with generous incentives. This industrial policy is already having a huge impact, with North America surging to become the fastest growing EV battery hub. Meanwhile, the consumers and workers are getting half a glass at best. Consumers get a $7,500 credit on certain EV models, but that is still not enough to offset the initial price difference. And the government is tackling the biggest pain point for EV drivers, the lack of charging stations, through funds to build around 500,000 new chargers nationwide. Unfortunately, experts estimate we actually need more like 2 million new charging stations. Now, in terms of workers, the automaker incentives do require jobs to be kept in the U.S., so those provisions do protect workers from offshoring. But there are no direct requirements on wages, benefits, or unions, a betrayal of Biden's stated desire to be a truly pro-union president. Goes without saying that Trump and the Republicans plan to do nothing on EVs and to continue union busting, which will virtually guarantee that this industry and its associated jobs will be offshored and that any plants which happen to spring up here will suffer from low wages and dangerous conditions. Hardly an appealing alternative. But there's nothing strikers can do directly about the EV transition, but that doesn't mean the strike is irrelevant to EV unionizing and wages. Just imagine that you work at Tesla and you're watching all of this unfold. Currently, non-union Tesla spends about $45 per hour on wages and benefits altogether for their workers. That's as opposed to $66 right now per hour for the big three. So if you work at Tesla, you are already on the short end of the stick. But you're about to watch people who do the very same job as you get a double-digit pay increase, along with better benefits and job protections, all because they are in a union. And this administration has just significantly eased the path to unionize thanks to some key National Labor Relations Board decisions. You think workers at Tesla just gonna sit back and accept getting dramatically underpaid versus their competitors? They're either gonna unionize or Elon's gonna have to cough up a good bit more money to try to keep them from unionizing. It's the same with all the EV battery workers in what is now an extremely hot industry here in this country. Battery workers don't make anywhere close to what auto workers are making right now, and they're routinely exposed to incredibly dangerous conditions thanks to working with some very hazardous materials. Jackman wrote a great article recently which documented how wage and safety concerns recently led a Lordstown GM battery facility to unionize. Those workers were being paid about $16.50 per hour to risk their health after being exposed to a toxic chemical spill on site. After that spill, they voted to join the UAW by a margin of 710 to 16. There is nothing to stop other battery workers from following suit. So as you're watching the auto workers strike, just remember, it's not just their livelihoods which are on the line. The entire nature of the EV transition also hangs in the balance. Will it be just the latest way to screw workers, or will they be able to organize and secure a new middle-class standard of living? The UAW has a chance here to show these workers that the benefits of unionizing outweighs the always present risks of going head-to-head with the bosses. And even as his EV policy has fallen short, believe me, having the President of the United States joining the strike and signaling that he'll have your back too, that doesn't hurt either. And this is really the elephant.
Hey guys, if you want to see what I had to say to Krystal's monologue, not just this one, all of them, going back to the very beginning, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com.